The apex predators. Commander Zara Blackthorne pressed her face against a reinforced titanium viewport, watching the swirling nebula dance in shades of crimson and gold. Her knuckles whitened as she gripped the observation deck's railing. 23 years of military service, and she'd never seen anything quite like this. "Captain," came the voice of Lieutenant Jake Morrison from behind her. "We're picking up something unusual on long-range sensors." Zara turned, raising an eyebrow. "Define unusual, Morrison, because after what we encountered at Proxima Station, my definition of that word has gotten pretty flexible." Morrison's grin was anything but reassuring. "Well, ma'am, remember how the Galactic Council told us we were the first Deathworld species they'd ever encountered? The ones who supposedly shocked everyone with our resilience and aggression. Yeah, what about it?" Zara's voice carried a hint of suspicion. Turns out they lied. The bridge erupted in controlled chaos as the crew scrambled to their stations. Zara strode to the corridors of the UES Vengeance, her boots echoing against the metal floor. The ship hummed with the tension of a crew that had seen too much in too little time. "Report," she barked as she entered the bridge. Ensign Kai Chin looked up from his console, sweat beading on his forehead. "Captain, we detected a massive vessel approximately 200,000 kilometers off our starboard bow. It's unlike anything in our databases." "Show me." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a ship that defied every conventional design principle Zara had ever learned. It was organic, almost alive, with what appeared to be breathing sections along its hull. Bone-white protrusions jutted from its surface like ribs, and a sickly green energy pulsed through visible veins running along its length. "Jesus Christ," whispered Communications Officer Sarah Vale. "What the hell is that thing?" Before anyone could answer, the alien vessel began transmitting. The universal translator crackled to life, filling the bridge with a voice that sounded like grinding stone mixed with the screams of dying worlds. "Pathetic mammals of the third planet. We are the Vorthak Empire. For 12,000 years, we have been the apex predators of this galaxy. We have crushed civilizations beneath our claws and feasted on the terror of a billion species. Your kind amuses us with its pretense of strength." Zara's jaw tightened. "Open a channel." "Channel open, Captain." She stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of authority earned through blood and fire. "This is Captain Zara Blackthorne of the United Earthship Vengeance. I suggest you reconsider your tone, because right now you're talking to someone who's had a very long day." The alien's laughter was like breaking glass. "You dare speak to Warlord Kresh with such insolence? We have conquered worlds that were molten hellscapes. We have thrived on planets where the very air would dissolve your fragile bones. We are death incarnate." "Oh, that's cute," Zara replied, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You think you're the only ones from a death world. Morrison, what's Earth's current classification in the Galactic Council database?" Morrison consulted his tablet. "Class 12 Death World, Captain. Extreme gravity, violent weather patterns, predatory ecosystem, toxic atmosphere composition for most species, and, oh, this is interesting, the only known planet where the dominant species develop persistence hunting and military tactics for entertainment." The alien's transmission crackled with confusion. "Impossible. No species could survive conditions more extreme than our homeworld of Vorthak Prime." Zara's smile was sharp enough to cut diamond. "Morrison, remind me what we used to call recess back in elementary school?" "Dodgeball, ma'am, where children threw rubber projectiles at each other for fun." "And what do we call it when teenagers gather to test their physical prowess?" "Contact sports, Captain. Football, rugby, ice hockey. Activities where participants regularly sustain concussions and broken bones voluntarily." The alien silence stretched for several heartbeats. "You see, Warlord Kresh," Zara continued, her voice taking on a conversational tone that somehow made it more menacing, "humans have this peculiar habit. We don't just survive hostile environments. We thrive in them. We seek them out. We pay money to throw ourselves out of perfectly good aircraft for the adrenaline rush." Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist, stepped forward. "Captain, I'm reading the atmospheric composition of their homeworld from their ship's emissions. sulfur dioxide, methane, trace amounts of hydrogen sulfide. Certainly hostile to most carbon-based life. Impressive, Zara nodded. Sounds like a Tuesday afternoon in Detroit before the atmospheric processors. The Vorthak Warlord's voice returned, but it had lost some of its earlier confidence. Your bravado means nothing. We have weapons that can crack continents. So do we, replied Zara cheerfully. We call them mining equipment. Chun, what's the yield on a standard terraforming charge? 50 megatons, Captain, though we typically use the 100 megaton variants for asteroid clearing. Standard equipment, Zara emphasized. Morrison, what did humans use for warfare before we developed energy weapons? Morrison's grin was becoming infectious among the crew. Well, Captain, we started with sharpened sticks. Then we invented arrows, which are essentially small sharpened sticks that we throw really, really hard. Then we discovered explosives. Ah, yes, explosives. Dr. Vasquez, what was humanity's first reaction when we discovered nuclear fission? The doctor's expression was somewhere between pride and horror. We weaponized it, Captain, within 4 years. And what did we do with those weapons? We dropped them on ourselves, ma'am. Twice. The bridge fell silent, except for the hum of the ship's systems. Even the alien transmission had gone quiet. You see, Warlord Kresh, Zara said, her voice now carrying the weight of absolute certainty. The thing about humans is that we don't just come from a death world. We are the death world. Every single one of us is a product of 4 billion years of the most brutal evolutionary arms race in known galactic history. We didn't just survive the extinction events. We thrived because of them. The alien's voice, when it returned, carried a note of uncertainty. Your claims are difficult to believe. Morrison, tell our new friend about our recreational activities. Morrison cleared his throat. Well, sir, humans engage in activities called extreme sports for entertainment. These include jumping off cliffs with minimal safety equipment, descending into underwater caves, climbing vertical rock faces without assistance, and racing vehicles at speeds that would be fatal in the event of an accident. And that's just individual recreation, added Dr. Vasquez. Our team sports involve controlled violence between groups. We have martial arts where the objective is to render your opponent unconscious through applied force. We also, Chin chimed in with growing enthusiasm, have eating competitions where we consume foods that are literally poisonous to most other species. Capsaicin and alcohol, food so hot they can cause chemical burns. For fun, Zara emphasized. We do this for fun. The alien transmission crackled back to life. And this time, the Vorthak Warlord's voice carried a note that sounded almost like respect. Perhaps we have underestimated your species. Perhaps you have. Zara's voice was steady, but her eyes held the promise of violence. Now, I believe you mentioned something about conquering civilizations and feasting on terror. That's interesting, because humans have a saying, don't start none won't be none. We do not understand this phrase. Morrison stepped forward. It means, sir, that if you don't initiate hostilities, we won't be forced to demonstrate exactly why Earth is classified as the most dangerous death world in known space. The alien's pause stretched longer this time. When the transmission resumed, the tone had shifted dramatically. We wish to learn more about this Earth. Perhaps there could be mutual benefit in an exchange of information. Zara's smile was predatory. Oh, now you want to talk? That's funny, because 30 seconds ago you were planning to add us to your list of conquered species. We may have been hasty in our initial assessment. May have been. Zara's laugh was sharp and cold. Warlord Kresh, let me explain something to you about humans. We don't forget. We don't forgive easily. And we have very, very long memories. The bridge crew watched their captain with something approaching awe. They'd seen her negotiate with hostile aliens before, but never with quite this level of controlled menace. However, Zara continued, her voice softening just enough to be more terrifying, we're also remarkably practical. You want to learn about Earth? Fine, but you're going to learn about it on our terms. What do you propose? Simple. Your warlord comes aboard our ship, alone, unarmed. and we have a little chat about the future of human-Vorthak relations. The silence that followed was deafening. You asked me to board your vessel without protection? I'm asking you to prove that the great Vorthak Empire isn't just a bunch of cowards hiding behind big ships and bigger threats. Morrison had to bite his lip to keep from laughing out loud. The captain was playing the alien's own pride against him, and it was working beautifully. Very well, came the grinding voice. I will come aboard your ship. But know this, human captain. If this is treachery, the Vorthak Empire will rain destruction upon your entire species. If this is treachery, Zara replied coolly, you won't live long enough to send a warning. The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Captain, Morrison said quietly, are you sure about this? We don't know anything about their biology, their capabilities, their weapons. Zara turned to face her crew, and her expression was absolutely serene. Morrison, do you remember what happened the last time someone threatened humanity? The Centauri War, ma'am. And how did that end? With a complete capitulation of the Centauri Empire and the establishment of human-controlled shipping lanes throughout their former territory. Exactly. Zara's voice carried the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight she couldn't afford to lose. Dr. Vasquez, I want a complete biological analysis of our guest the moment he steps aboard. Chun, monitor all ship systems for any signs of tampering or sabotage. Vale, keep an open channel to Earth Command, but don't transmit unless I give the word. And if things go sideways? Morrison asked. Zara's smile was sharp enough to cut steel. Then our new friend is going to learn exactly why humans are the apex predators of the galaxy. The education of a warlord. The airlock hissed open with mechanical precision, revealing a creature that defied every nightmare humans had ever conceived. Warlord Kresh stood nearly 3 meters tall, his obsidian exoskeleton gleaming under the ship's lighting. 6 arms ended in claws that could have shredded steel, and his 4 eyes glowed with an inner fire that spoke of intelligence as sharp as his natural weapons. Captain Zara Blackthorne stood waiting, flanked by 2 Marines whose casual stance somehow made them appear more dangerous than if they'd been at full attention. She wore no armor, carried no visible weapons, and looked for all the world like she was greeting an old friend. Warlord Kresh, I presume? Her voice carried the same easy confidence that had marked their earlier conversation. The alien's massive head tilted, studying her with predatory intensity. You are smaller than I expected, human captain. I get that a lot. Zara's smile could have powered a small city. Morrison tells me you're curious about our home world. Follow me. They walked to the corridors of the U.S. Vengeance, and Kresh's compound eyes took in every detail. The walls were lined with what appeared to be recreational equipment, weights, and training apparatus. Your ship carries gymnasium equipment? He asked, confusion evident in his grinding voice. Oh, that's not gymnasium equipment, Morrison replied cheerfully. That's just basic maintenance gear. Humans require regular physical exertion to maintain optimal health. We call it working out. They paused beside a section where Corporal Martinez was bench-pressing what appeared to be several hundred pounds of metal plates. How much weight is that human lifting? Kresh asked. About twice his body weight. Zara replied casually. That's pretty standard for basic fitness maintenance. Kresh's silence was telling. They entered the ship's recreational lounge, where several off-duty crew members were engaged in various activities. In one corner, 2 ensigns were playing what appeared to be a game involving throwing sharp objects at a circular target. Darts, explained Dr. Vasquez, who had joined their tour. A precision game where participants throw pointed projectiles at specific targets. It requires hand-eye coordination and mathematical calculation. You play games with weapons? Well, technically they're not weapons, Morrison said. Though I suppose anything can be a weapon if you throw it hard enough. Jenkins once took down a Regellian boarding party with a deck of playing cards. How is that possible? Proper technique and sufficient velocity. Jenkins called out from where he was demonstrating card tricks to some fascinated crew members. Plus, Rigellians have surprisingly delicate respiratory systems. They moved to the dining area, where Chef Rodriguez was preparing the evening meal. The air was thick with aromatic spices that made Kresh's nostril slits flare. "What is that scent?" he asked. "Dinner," Zara replied. "Rodriguez, what are we having tonight?" "Chili con carne, Captain. Made with Carolina Reapers, ghost peppers, and a few other little surprises." Kresh watched in fascination as Rodriguez casually handled peppers that were literally smoking. Those plants appeared to be producing toxic vapor. "Oh, they are," Rodriguez grinned. "Capsaicin concentration is about 2 million Scoville units, hot enough to cause chemical burns on unprotected skin. And you consume this?" "With pleasure," Zara said. "Would you like to try some?" The Warlord's immediate step backward spoke volumes. They continued their tour, passing the ship's library where Ensign Park was reading what appeared to be a historical text. "Park, what's the book today?" Morrison asked. "The Art of War by Sun Tzu, sir. Classic human military strategy from about 2,500 years ago." Kresh's 4 eyes fixed on the book. "Your species has been documenting warfare for millennia?" "Oh, much longer than that," Park replied. "This is just one of the more famous ones. We have military treatises dating back over 5,000 years. Would you like to see our collection on asymmetric warfare? Or perhaps our studies on psychological operations?" The alien silence was becoming a pattern. Dr. Vasquez led them to Medical Bay, where she began explaining human physiology with the enthusiasm of someone who genuinely loved her work. "The human cardiovascular system is particularly interesting," she said, pulling up a holographic display. "We have redundant circulatory pathways, enhanced oxygen carrying capacity, and the ability to function at optimal levels even when sustaining significant tissue damage." "Define significant," Kresh requested. "Well, humans can survive the loss of up to 40% of their blood volume, function with punctured lungs, continue fighting with broken bones, and maintain consciousness even when experiencing what other species would consider fatal injuries." She gestured to another display. "Our immune systems are equally robust. We can process toxins that would kill most carbon-based life forms, develop resistance to biological weapons, and actually strengthen our defenses through controlled exposure to pathogens." "Controlled exposure?" "We call them vaccinations. We deliberately introduce weakened versions of deadly diseases into our children so they can develop immunity." Kresh's compound eyes widened. "But perhaps most interesting," Dr. Vasquez continued, "is our neurological response to stress. Where most species experience decreased performance under threat, humans actually improve. We call it the adrenaline response." "Explain." "When faced with danger, the human body floods itself with natural stimulants that increase strength, speed, reaction time, and pain tolerance while simultaneously heightening awareness and cognitive function." Morrison nodded. "We literally become more dangerous when threatened." They moved to the ship's armory, where Weapons Officer Kane was cleaning what appeared to be a collection of primitive implements. "Kane, show our guest the historical collection." Kane's face lit up with enthusiasm. "Certainly, Captain. Warlord Kresh, these are replicas of weapons used throughout human history." He held up a sword. "This is a gladius, used by Roman legions approximately 2,000 years ago. Designed for close-quarters combat, optimized for piercing armor, and causing maximum tissue damage." He moved to another case. "This is a longbow. Humans used these for warfare starting about 8,000 years ago. Effective range of over 300 meters, capable of penetrating most armor of its era." Kresh examined the weapons with growing unease. "These are all primitive." "By current standards, yes." Kane agreed. "But humans were using these to wage war on a planetary scale before we discovered faster-than-light travel. We had conflicts involving millions of combatants using nothing but muscle-powered weapons and tactical intelligence." "Millions?" "The Second World War involved over 70 million casualties," Morrison said quietly. "That was just one conflict, lasting 6 years, using technology that we now consider antique." They returned to the bridge, where the tour concluded with Zara offering Kresh a seat in the observation area. "So," she said, settling into her command chair, "what have you learned about humans today?" Kresh was quiet for a long moment, his 4 eyes studying the crew around him, these beings who looked so fragile, so vulnerable, who had spent the last hour casually describing capabilities that defied everything he thought he knew about Deathworld evolution. "I have learned," he said slowly, "that the Vorthak Empire may have made an error in our initial assessment." "Just an error?" Zara's eyebrow arched dangerously. "We have made a grave mistake," Kresh corrected. "We believed ourselves to be the apex predators of the galaxy because we survived on a world of poison and fire. But you thrive on a world that would kill us, and you do it for entertainment." Morrison leaned forward. "Warlord, can I ask you something? What's the most dangerous creature on your homeworld?" "The Skarn. They are massive predators with razor claws and acidic breath. They have killed many of our warriors." "How big?" "Perhaps 5 meters in length, weighing several tons." The bridge crew exchanged glances. Chef Rodriguez. Zara called out over the comm, "What's the largest predator that humans regularly encounter on Earth?" "Well, Captain, depends on your definition. Great white sharks can reach 6 meters and weigh over 2 tons. Saltwater crocodiles hit 7 meters. Grizzly bears can weigh 800 kilograms and run 50 kilometers per hour. And what do humans do when we encounter these creatures? We swim with the sharks for recreation, wrestle the crocodiles for television shows, and some people keep bears as pets." Kresh's mandibles clicked in what might have been disbelief. "But that's not the really impressive part," Morrison added. "The most dangerous predator on Earth isn't actually any of those." "What is it?" "Humans," Zara said simply. "We're the apex predator on a planet full of apex predators. Everything else is just scenery." The Warlord sat in silence, processing this information. "There is more," he said finally. "Your ship, your crew, your capabilities. This is all standard for human military." "This?" Zara looked around the bridge with genuine surprise. "Warlord, this is a light cruiser. We have ships that could turn planets into asteroid fields. We have weapons that make stars go supernova. We have soldiers who consider hand-to-hand combat against armed opponents a form of meditation." She stood and walked to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. "But here's the thing that really sets humans apart. We don't conquer for the sake of conquest. We don't destroy because we can. We protect what we love, and we cherish what makes us strong." She turned back to face Kresh. "Your empire has spent 12,000 years terrorizing the galaxy because you thought strength meant inspiring fear. But real strength, Warlord, real power, comes from inspiring others to be strong alongside you." Kresh rose slowly, his massive frame somehow seeming smaller than when he'd first boarded. "What do you propose, Captain Blackthorne?" Zara's smile was warm now, genuinely friendly for the first time since their initial contact. "I propose that the Vorthak Empire learns what humanity learned a long time ago. The strongest predator isn't the one that hunts alone. It's the one that leads a pack." She extended her hand, a gesture that had sealed agreements across human space for centuries. "The galaxy is a big place, Warlord. Big enough for 2 Deathworld species to coexist, maybe even to thrive together." Kresh looked at the offered hand, then at the faces of the crew around him. These humans who could casually discuss weapons of planetary destruction while playing games and sharing meals. These beings who had turned survival into an art form and warfare into a science. He reached out with one massive claw and carefully, gently, shook the captain's hand. "Perhaps," he said, his voice carrying a note of something that might have been hope, "the Vorthak have much to learn about true strength." As the 2 ships prepared to part ways, establishing the first formal diplomatic contact between their species, Warlord Kresh sent one final transmission. "Captain Blackthorne, I have one last question." "Go ahead." "On your world, what do you call the beings who survive and thrive in the most dangerous environments?" Zara's laugh was warm and genuine. "We call them human, Warlord. We call them human."